I realize that most of the thoughts right now aren't really on what I have to offer for a homily, as they are, who's the guy sitting next to me? So, introductions first. This is Doctor. Right. This is Deacon Frank Luca. And most importantly, this is his wife here in the front row, Chris. I'm very delighted to invite them here and very happy that they can join us. Frank, I've worked with for many years in CLI and in youth ministry programs here in the diocese. And about a year and a half ago, we brought him on board at UMass Dartmouth as in campus ministry. So Frank's job is to make me look good. Well, he actually does a wonderful job in reaching out to our students, Catholic and otherwise. And again, I'm very happy that he and Chris are both able to join us here this evening as we kind of connect the two different families I shared during the week, bring them together a little bit. I had extended an invitation to most of the college students, but they were pretty much hightailing it off campus all day today, going home. So they weren't really interested in coming for pasta when they can get home a little bit earlier. So our thoughts are with them, certainly. We come together in Thanksgiving with family and friends as our nation takes that time to give thanks. And certainly we have so much to be thankful here at St. John's. Just a beautiful community that we have, a beautiful part of the world we live in. Was it in yesterday's paper, Haley? Yesterday's newspaper? Yep, you probably read about Haley Manduki yesterday in the Cape Cod Times. She's earned her Gold Award through Girl Scouts and will be receiving that soon. So it's a nice story for her. If you were at the 4 o'clock Mass last week, I embarrassed first Ed. Ed, you don't have to come up here, Ed, just wave. Ed was, those in town know, was a story in the front page of the Enterprise a couple of weeks ago. For his service in World War II. His granddaughter had received an award for writing about a hero in her life, and she chose her grandfather for his service in World War II. And it was read, wasn't it, at the Tomb of the Unknown? Yep, down in D.C., and they surprised her granddaughter by Connie and Ed both showed up to surprise her as she was able to participate in a very special ceremony, and I guess the press surprised them because they didn't know the story was being shipped up here. So certainly we're very proud of all of our veterans, and we're very proud of Ed and his accomplishments and his family. And just last weekend, Connie, you can wave too. Connie received the Marian Medal from Bishop DeCunha at St. Mary's Cathedral, was nominated and awarded that for her efforts here in the parish and so many things, and most notably in Respect Life. So we certainly, just some of the ways that our community has been out there, made known in the church circles and just in our community as well. And there's so many other ways that it's been, that we're made known and that we're present out there. And we're so fortunate and so lucky that we have such a strong family of faith here. After Mass, of course, next door we have dinner, so all of you to feel free, whether you call us or not, head next door. We have lots of food over there. But when you go over, I want you to do me a favor, is as you walk in to the left, you'll see the closet doors up next to the kitchen. And one of the closet doors has a paper tree on it. With leaves. And that was put up there this past week by our Cub Scout pack. And each of the leaves they wrote something that they were grateful for. And what I found interesting and even touching was that the vast majority of them list their families as what they're most grateful for. You know, sometimes you're thinking to be, the baseball team or, the Celtics or the Bruins or something like that. And all of them were listing their family. Of all the things that they were thankful for, it was their families that they most appreciated. And certainly, it reminds us of just the power of family, that the family is a key to the strength and vibrancy of any community, whether it's a church community or a civil community. That our families are key to communities that do us proud, that do good things, that are loving. We're so lucky to live in an area that we have so many young families that make up our community here in Bourne. And I hope that all of these families, indeed anyone who comes here to St. John's particularly, feels appreciated and welcomed and wanted. The Cub Scouts, in identifying their families as a reason to be thankful, also reminds us of what's important in life. It reminds us of the challenge not to take anything for granted. One of my annual traditions, I guess you could call it, is to read President Lincoln's proclamation, Thanksgiving, a not so controversial executive order from the presidency. This particular proclamation established the national holiday of Thanksgiving. Isn't it interesting that in one of the bloodiest years in American history, 1863, when our country was in civil war, the U.S. government found reason to give thanks to God. Lincoln noted that despite the Great War raging, the U.S. was at peace with other nations in the world, that the country had experienced a growth in population, that industry and harvest had not only continued, but had increased. And he wrote, quote, "To these bounties, which are so constantly enjoyed that we are prone to forget the source from which they come, they are gracious gifts of the Most High God," close quote. The readings this evening challenge us the same way. They challenge us not to take for granted the blessings we have in life and to thank God for His goodness. It's not just a nice thing that we do. The church tells us it's what we're all about. The source and sum of the Christian life, the church teaches, is the Eucharist, the gift of the Lord's glorified body and blood. This is very significant because this word translates to thanksgiving. Therefore, the source and sum of the Christian life involves thanksgiving, specifically thanksgiving to God. Through our reception of the Eucharist, we are then to live this thanksgiving in our daily lives. Certainly, it's easier to be thankful when things are going well. It may have made more sense to many to establish Thanksgiving after the conclusion of the Civil War and not in the midst of it. Yet, in taking time to offer thanksgiving in the midst of conflict, President Lincoln helped us as a country to remember who we were and what was important to us. It kept us rooted in our identity at a time when we could have easily have lost it. How much more the case for us, the children of God? There exists in our lives and the lives of those we love turmoil and chaos, perhaps even illness or violence, the reality of death facing us or a loved one. Giving thanks to God, even with all of this going on, keeps us rooted in our identity as God's children, in the knowledge of His promises to us that we are loved by Him and will never be abandoned by Him. And so we join with our brothers and sisters throughout our country to take time this week to give thanks to God. I probably said it last year at this celebration as well, but I am very grateful to be here as your pastor. To be truthful, being a pastor was not on my list of things I was really interested in when I was ordained. I loved being in hospital ministry, and as you know, still love being in campus ministry. Yet when presented the possibility of being pastor here at St. John's, I hesitated in my opposition to the idea. I enjoyed my time here as assistant and not only thought of it as a great community, but one that had so much potential. So they offered to it, and the fire in the belly was there, and it was a pretty big belly, but the fire in the belly was there, and so here I am. I'm very grateful this year as well for the gift of God and the church of Bishop D'Acunha to our diocese as our new shepherd. As you know, he'll be visiting us in a couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to that day and to that celebration. A few weeks after he was installed as our bishop, he called all the priests of the diocese together to join them for evening prayer and dinner. He gave a short talk that evening, and I would like to share with you 2 points that he made. At his installation, the gathering hymn for the Mass was, "All are welcome." It was a message that this would be the approach of the Catholic Church here in the Diocese of Fall River. All are welcome. And in his words to the priests, Bishop D'Acunha reiterated this, but also said, we must be a church that not only welcomes others, but also reaches out. We need to reach out to the lost, the alienated, the needy, the poor, those who feel abandoned. Which brought us to his second point. In this work of reaching out, the parish has a very important role to play. It is the family of faith gathered to praise God, to thank Him, but also to nourish faith and send us into the world as other Christs. The bishop called upon all of us to work with our people to be sure that our parishes were not in maintenance mode, but in mission mode. This means that not only do we gather to give praise and worship to God, not only do we reach out to the needy, the poor, and the alienated, but we also share our love and faith of Jesus Christ with others, inviting them to join us at this very table here. We all have a desire, we've heard it and we've mentioned it in conversations, a desire for more families to join us here each week. We want our parish to be vibrant, to be a place where God is experienced, loved, and shared. But we all acknowledge it's not so easy to figure out how to get there. And so I promised an announcement a couple of weeks ago at the Sunday Masses, so here you go. In 2019, our parish of St. John the Evangelist will celebrate our 50th anniversary as a parish. We have so much to be grateful for in those 50 years. There's so much good that has occurred here, and that continues to happen here. While we celebrate that good and are proud of what we have accomplished, we also need to work to make sure that there's another 50 years after 2019. In order to do that and begin the planning for that, in January, we'll begin a process of a parish convocation. By definition, a convocation is a gathering for a particular purpose. Our gathering over several months will be to identify where we are, who we are, where we hope to be, and explore ways of getting there together. Further details exactly of how all that will play out will be coming out over the next few weeks. Preparations, though, have already begun among the staff in that we're collecting demographic information about our parish, the makeup of the parish, as well as where we are geographically. In addition, in a couple of weeks, we'll be approaching everybody in the parish and those living within the boundaries of our parish to help us to prepare for this convocation through a survey to get input from as many people as possible. During the convocation itself, we'll invite all those who are interested to participate in the various sessions that will be offered to help synthesize the information and formulate objectives and goals for our parish for the next 5 years and beyond. And when I say all, I mean all. Those who attend Mass each week, those who don't attend Mass at all, the elderly, the middle-aged, the high school age, the middle school age, everybody is invited to the table to discuss our future as a family of faith. Heeding the advice of the Finance Council, I've asked Deacon Frank actually to help facilitate this process. Deacon Frank has experience in this type of visioning in the corporate world as well as within church ministries, and it's an excuse to go over to Chris and Frank's house again for a delightful meal. I should also be announcing, in the coming weeks too, we'll be announcing we have a pastoral council in place. We'll be announcing those names in the coming weeks. One of their first tasks is to elect the second half of the pastoral council. But they haven't met yet, but we'll be announcing who they are in the next few weeks as well, which will play an important role in the next few years and the 50 years beyond that. We have so much to be thankful for as children of God, as parishioners of St. John's, as residents of this great nation. Our families, our community, our faith. Let us heed the gospel today. Let us heed the words of Abraham Lincoln and never take any of them for granted. Let us be sure that we are doing our part for them so they continue to be sources of strength not only for ourselves and our loved ones, but for all who come here. May all who come here realize that all are welcome, all are appreciated, all are valued.